Hello everyone, and welcome to today's special Night Realm event YouTube video about the dream stories. So, we've had a shit ton of people post dream stories in the Night Realm channel, and by voting, there's been one person that has had the most votes. I think there were 7. It was Parsley. So, congratulations on having the most interesting dream. It's fucking long. I'm gonna read it for you guys. And yeah, that's basically the Dream Stories event. Yippee, yaddy fucking yay. Alright, so, yeah, as I said, this one is from Parsley. Yeah, let's start it. Okay, so this particular lucid dream was pretty long, and she said it took up a lot of her night. I noticed the dream character of our princess, who could operate what was basically an inherited mobile suit armor like Escaflown. She was clearing out dungeons in our kingdom, and she caught my interest. So I did one of my standard loose possessions where I tapped the back of her mind and asked permission to hitch a ride in exchange for helping her out. I connected part of my spirit self to her, and I got the okay, so it was very easy for me to follow her and just keep track of her. I didn't have my own body for any of this dream. I just sometimes shared hers to watch from her perspective or quickly pop in to help her maneuver when she was struggling and then pop back out again when she didn't need my help anymore. One of the people who sometimes cleared dungeons with the princess was another young woman her age who piloted a mobile suit whose original owner was a queen. That queen had been married to the king who originally owned my princess' mobile suit. The king and the queen were the princess's ancestors. Old mobile suits were known to sometimes influence their riders with strong residual emotions of the original owner. The princess's mobile suit didn't really affect her. It just felt to her like her great-great-grandfather's spirit was watching over her. To her credit, he was. I sensed part of his awareness still in the mobile suit, and I saw him next to her during the times when they were most in sync. The queen's mobile suit had a strong effect on its pilot. The queen had been known to have been head over heels in love with the king to the point of being obsessed, and that affected the pilot more and more over time, and she started to become obsessed with the king mobile suit's pilot, the princess. The obsession in love with the obsession started out mild but became stronger and stronger until I started to worry that she could be turning into a yandere. Each dungeon was assigned a level. The princess had cleared them out in order starting from the level 1 dungeon. She was midway through the 10th level dungeon when she was contacted over comms and told to return home to the capital. She saw her uncle, the king's brother, and some of his men on a wooden path on her way home. I felt right away that something was up and that it would be bad for him to notice her. I stopped her from stepping out into the open and made sure they wouldn't notice her, even if she wasn't behind cover. Her uncle and his men were outside the opening into a higher level dungeon. It looked like a huge hole with a stone rim, like one around a well. Her uncle was facing a man with the rest of his men behind him. He demanded that the men assassinated the princess. The men refused. Her uncle started torturing the man and tried to get him to agree to do it, but the men wouldn't budge. I felt that the man wasn't going to cave, and the princess's uncle would kill him if we didn't stop him. She and I brainstormed about our options. The man was wounded and wouldn't need to be carried. She only had one mobile suit since she had separated from her group when they left the level 10 dungeon. It would be risky to fight while carrying the man. Her uncle and his men had a few replica mobile suits with them. They were mobile suits made with new tech based on the old suits, like the one that the princess used. They weren't as strong as the originals they were based on, but it would still be a risk to try to face so many with a handicap. If her uncle was acting like this, there was also no guarantee that the capital would be safe for them if they got away. There was only one place they could go without being followed. The princess rushed over, blocked the death blow her uncle was about to give with his blade, and grabbed the injured man. She held him securely and leaped into the dungeon before anyone else could react. The inside of the dungeon didn't look anything like the other dungeons the princess had entered before. She thought because it was of a much higher level than the one she'd been in so far. There were no monsters. It felt more like a temple than a dungeon to me. There was a covered area with open sides not far from the entrance. It had stone benches and tables and decaying wood shelves and other storage furniture. The princess decided to use that as their base of operations now. The food and supplies she could find were long spoiled and no use anymore, but it was a safe place for the man to rest. She used the supplies she had on her to do some first aid on the man while I scouted around and fed my report back to her. I found an inactive mech that kinda looked like a mobile suit but without space for a rider, standing in a spot specifically made for that suit in the wall nearby the base. It didn't really feel dangerous for her, but it also felt like a guardian of the place. I decided it would probably be best for her to be with me for any further inspections and went back. The man was stable, but still felt like crap and needed some time to rest. The princess did what she could to make a stone table comfortable and let him rest on that while she got back into her mobile suit and went to inspect their surroundings. Influenced by the information I had given her, she made a beeline for the mech without realizing she already knew it would be there. The princess ended up leaving her mobile suit to better inspect the stationary mech. Nothing happened until I possessed her to get a view of what she was looking at from her perspective. 4 slots opened in the front of the mech while I was in her. Scan said they were holes for her arms and legs. She and I both noped out of that. We turned to try to leave, but it sucked us back to it and sucked some of the skin from our back into the slots. I started trying to find a way to get us out, but it released us before I could do much more than experience the same slight pain she did from the suction on the 4 points on our back. All 4 locations also received small cuts that we barely felt. The mech activated when the princess was freed. I hurried out of her and she hurried back into her mobile suit while the mech she stood on started to stir and shift. She backed away from it in her mobile suit and then the mech took a step forward. Its eyes shone with a pale yellow, almost white light. It was made of the same kind of material that the princess's mobile suit was. A pale and hard material that seemed more like stone than metal, but wasn't really either. A synthetic material that looked like hair was coming out of the back of its head and went just past his shoulders. It was hunched forward a little in almost an ape-like pose and gave off a wild feeling. It also felt like it was loyal to the princess who woke it up. I deemed it to be safe, if unpredictable, and the princess decided to let it follow her back towards the base. They didn't get far before the queen mobile suit user showed up with some imitation mobile suits. She had come into the dungeon on the princess's uncle's orders to kill the princess, but she didn't really intend to do that. The activated mech took on the imitation mobile suits to keep them out of the princess's way while she fought the queen mobile suit. The woman operating the queen mobile suit fought with the princess, while the mech fought with the other couple people sent with her. Then, when the imitation mobile suit pilots were fully focused on the fight and weren't paying attention to her, the queen pilot turned on them and helped the princess fight them off. Their mobile suits were badly damaged and could barely function well enough for them to flee. The princess, the queen pilot, and I all mentally agreed that we didn't want to capture them. Their mobile suits would take weeks to be fixed up enough to fight again. And the princess's group wasn't in a position to manage prisoners with their limited resources and manpower. It would be better to let the enemy pilots get away, even if it meant some intel getting back to the princess's uncle. The queen mobile suit operator brought news that the king had already been killed, and the princess's uncle was trying to kill the princess to get rid of any remaining obstacles to the throne. The princess didn't let herself think about that information. She didn't have time to grieve. I helped block out that thought from her mind so she could more easily focus on what she had to do in the dungeon. I said it so the knowledge would fully resurface when she was safe. It probably wouldn't be long before more men were sent in after them. The princess's queen pilot and guardian mech explored the dungeon while regularly checking on the injured soldier. They found a couple more guardian mechs that were activated the same way. The 4 slots showed up when I possessed the princess. We kept using our back instead of our arms and legs because we didn't want our limbs to be hurt and make it harder to fight. I could feel the same pain she did when the mech suctioned the skin on our back. It didn't hurt them much the first time, but progressively got worse each time it happened to the same areas. Soon, our backs were very sore. I wondered if an old back injury I had on my waking body was acting up in the night, and if that was the cause of the particular plot. That was the dream, guys. That was the dream. It was a long, long dream. If you guys enjoyed the dream, make sure to leave a like. Make sure to comment to Parsley about the dream. Shoot, enjoy that. I'm quite sure. And I want to thank you guys for watching and listening again. And I hope to see you guys in Night Realm. The Discord link will be down in the description. And as always, guys, have a great day. Peace.